Sri Sachidananda Sadguru Sainath Maharaj Ki Jai. Sri Sai SATCHARITRA, an Insight. Episode 164. My humble prostrations at the lotus feet of our Sadguru Sai. By the divine grace of Sai, an attempt has been made to translate the gist of the divine discourse of Sri Ramanathan brother telecasted in Sai TV. This is purely done to share the glory of Sai and his divine teachings with more insight to the aspirants. Om Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnuhu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Parabrahmam Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Devotees, we have been heeding to the Leelas of Sri Sai Maharaj that reinforced the faith of Megha upon Sri Sai Baba, which also paved way for him to worship Sri Sai as Shankar. Every day, Megha worshipped Sri Sai Baba's mortal form in Dwarakamai during the noon arati and in the morning and evening to the divine portrait at Satewada. Devotees assembled in big numbers and were eager to take part in the arati performed by Megha. One early morning, while Megha was partially awake but still lying on the bed, eyes closed, he suddenly heard the voice of Sri Sai Maharaj and also saw in vision the form of Sri Sai Baba showering the akshata, that is, the uncooked rice coated with turmeric and ghee, which is offered in the puja during the worship of the deities, and said, Megha, draw the trident. Megha was wondering if that was a dream and opened his eyes to see the divine form of Sri Sai Baba fading slowly in the air. He couldn't understand if that was real or dream. But to his surprise, the akshatas that were showered by Sri Sai Baba were spread on the floor, whereas the doors were locked from inside. He couldn't perceive this scene because if it is real, the doors should be open to let Sri Sai Maharaj inside the room. But that didn't happen. If he thinks it is only a dream, then how can the akshatas be found on the floor that were showered in his vision? This was not logical for him. Hence, he decided to discuss about this with Sri Sai Maharaj. Later that day, when he went to the masjid, he described his vision in detail to Sri Sai Baba. Omniscient Sri Sai Maharaj listened to all that was narrated by Megha quietly and then spoke in a harsh tone. Did you not hear my direct instructions to you? I told you to draw the trident. You are considering that as a dream? Are you trying to gauge my words? Megha then replied slowly, Baba, I too thought that you woke me up and gave me those instructions. But the doors were locked from inside, hence I thought that to be my dream. Devotees, now listen to the significant words of Sri Sai Baba. Asking you to draw the trident was my direct command to you. You draw the trident. My words are always profound and not a syllable is empty. I don't need any doors to enter. I don't possess any form or require any dimensions to enter. I am always present everywhere. One who places his entire burden upon me and always gets absorbed in my thoughts, all his activities are carried by me as that of the actions of a puppet. Devotees, OV 199 and 200 in chapter 28 that carry these affirmations of Sri Sai Maharaj are very important. Sri Sai Baba, the Supreme Master, is bestowing his grace upon his devotees by asserting that he would carry out all our activities provided we place our entire burden upon his lotus feet. Isn't this a remarkable blessing for the devotees from Sadguru Sai Maharaj? Megha returned to Satewada with the blessings of Sri Sai Maharaj and began to draw the trident on one of the walls of the room. He drew the outline with the vermilion, which is red in color. The next day, as usual, he went to collect the bilwa leaves from the neighboring village to worship Sri Sai. On his way back, he worshipped all the deities and finally came to Dwarakamai, worshipped the feet of Lord Sai Maharaj and drank the sacred water as Padatirth. At that moment, a Ramadasi came from Pune. He paid his respects to Sri Sai and gifted a Shivalingam. The Shivalingam was brought from the banks of the Narmada river and is known as Banalingam, which is an extremely rare and naturally formed sacred stone worshipped as Lingam. Immediately, Sri Sai Baba looked at Megha and said, "Megha, see, you drew the trident, and here Shankar has come. Now it's your duty to take care of him." Megha was extremely happy at this new blessing because he considers Sri Sai Maharaj as Lord Shiva, and to receive the sacred Banalingam from the hands of Sai Shankar was the most incredible blessing for him. His throat choked, was in horripilation, and eyes were filled with tears of joy. After receiving the sacred lingam from Sri Sai Maharaj, he ran fast towards Satewada. Just then, Gaga Sahib Dikshit came out after his morning bath and was wiping his head. Kaka Sahib Dikshit was always engrossed in chanting the God's name. He was in a greater plane in the spiritual ladder. Hence, irrespective of the work he was engaged in, his mind was always absorbed in chanting Sri Sai Baba's divine name. So, while he was wiping his head, standing on a stone concentrating upon Sri Sai Baba, suddenly he had a vision and saw the image of a Shivalingam. He was stunned by the vision of the Shivalingam. At that juncture, Megha was approaching Satewada and on the way found Kaka Sahib Dikshit. So with all excitement, he said, "Kaka, Kaka, look here. Sri Sai Maharaj gave me this magnificent Shivalingam." Kaka Sahib Dikshit was awestruck to see the Shivalingam, as that was very similar to the one that he just saw in the vision. It was the same with regard to size, shape, and even the small patterns on it were matching precisely to the one that appeared in the vision. This is considered as one of the greatest blessings for Kaka Sahib Dikshit as well. Both Dikshit and Megha were extremely happy experiencing the divine sport of the Lord Sai. Megha placed the Shivalingam next to the outline of the trident that he drew on the wall of the Satewada. Now he completed his drawing of the trident with great excitement. Sri Sai Maharaj even came to witness the worship of Megha. Every day on his way to Lendibag, Sri Sai would pass through the Satewada and bless the devotees present there. At times, he would even sit there for a couple of minutes and have a conversation with the devotees, then proceed to Satewada. Devotees might wonder about the location of Satewada. Unfortunately, it has been demolished now. This Vada was situated exactly at the backside of the present Samadhi Mandir, that is between the Gurusthan and the Samadhi Mandir. At present, that area is fenced and has a passage for the devotees to circumambulate the Gurusthan. This building is very significant as many wonderful leelas have taken place there. The reason for demolishing this historical and most important complex was because it obstructed the growth of the holy neem tree in the Gurusthan. The leaves started to dry and wither out, so for the sake of saving the holy tree from further damage, a discussion was made with the Maharashtra Agricultural Department, and as per their observations, the Sate Vada was resting on the roots of the neem tree at Gurusthan, and its weight was pressing the roots of the tree. Hence, the only way to save the tree was to remove the building and create more aeration to the roots. It was a challenging task for the Sansthan. They contemplated on it and finally came to the conclusion that the holy neem tree under which Sri Sai Baba sat and performed penance, and owing to the powers of his penance, the leaves that are bitter by nature were turned sweet for the sincere and faithful devotees must be preserved. Upasani Maharaj has also written a sloka depicting the greatness of this holy neem tree as Sada Nimba Vrikshasya Mooladi Vasat Sudashravinam Diktamapya Apriyam Tam Tarum Kalpa Vrikshadikam Sadayantam Namamishwaram Sadgurum Sainatham. Meaning, I bow to the Lord Sainath, who, by his constant stay at the foot of the neem tree, made it, which, though bitter and unpleasant, was yet oozing nectar better than the Kalpa Vriksha, that is the wish-fulfilling tree. Sansthan was worried that this sacred neem tree might go down, hence to protect it, they abided by the advice of the Maharashtra Agricultural Department and demolished Satevada. Also, to promote optimal health for the tree, they aerated the soil. Devotees, when we circumambulate the Gurusthan, we can see a window-like iron grill being placed on the ground at few places around the neem tree, and this helps to aerate the soil. It's unfortunate that we are unable to see Satevada now, which is one of the sacred places visited by Sri Sai Baba during his mortal coil. But that was inevitable, as the decision of bringing down the building was done keeping in mind the safety of the holy neem tree. Getting back to the original thread, the following day, Sri Sai Baba went to Megha's room and moved the Shivalingam a bit close to the trident that was painted on the wall. This action seemed as though the Prana Pratishta of Shivalingam was done by the sacred hands of Sri Sai Maharaj. Sri Sai Baba's big portrait was also placed next to the Shivalingam. The worship of the Shivalingam and Sri Sai Maharaj continued until the passing away of Megha, that is, till 1901-1912. After Megha attained liberation, the question arose among the devotees that who could continue to worship the Shivalingam. So they approached Sri Sai Maharaj to get an answer, and Sri Sai Baba told, place the Shivalingam in front of the Padukas under the neem tree in the Gurusthan. The Shivalingam was brought and was kept near the holy Padukas of Sri Sai, and once again, by the holy hands of Sri Sai Maharaj, the installation of the Shivalingam took place. Devotees, when you go to Shirdi, you can see this beautiful Shivalingam in the Gurusthan accompanied by a Nandi. This is the same sacred Banalingam that was given by Sri Sai Maharaj to Megha, worshipped by him with devotion and zeal, and then placed by Sri Sai Maharaj by his holy hands at Gurusthan for the benefit of all the devotees. So, devotees, it's a blessing if you will reminisce and bring to the mind's eye all these divine happenings while you worship the Shivalingam at Gurusthan, as that will grant you to experience a divine joy. Thus, Megha's faith on Sri Sai Maharaj was strengthened. On every Mahashivaratri day, Rudrabhishekam is performed to this sacred Shivalingam. Sansthan celebrates various festivals year-round, and each festival is celebrated at the ambience connected to the Leelas in Sri Sai SATCHARITRA, as those spots are permeated with a divine radiance and thus more conducive and appropriate. For instance, Tulsi Vivah, that is ceremonial marriage of the Tulsi plant to Lord Vishnu, is performed at Dwarakamai on the 12th day of Deepavali to the Tulsi plant placed in the northeast corner of the Dwarakamai. Sri Sai Baba planted a Tulsi Brindavan outside the masjid, but after the outer pavilion was constructed, the devotees brought it inside the masjid. A new Tulsi plant will be placed in the spot allocated, and the Tulsi Vivah will be celebrated with a divine fervor. Similarly, on every Mahashivaratri, Rudrabhisheka Puja is performed to the Banalingam and Nandi at Gurusthan by the Sansthan priest. We listen to all the unfathomable Leelas of Sri Sai Maharaj experienced by Megha. Now, let us heed to the most significant and the final journey of Megha. It is not mentioned by Hemat Panji in this chapter, as he had listed it under the title The Devotees That Attained Liberation in the Presence of Sri Sai Baba in the 31st chapter of Sri Sai SATCHARITRA. Since we are discussing all the events that took place in Megha's life during his association with Sri Sai Maharaj, Ramanathan brother feels it would be appropriate to talk about how Sri Sai Maharaj liberated his soul as a closing note of this episode. So, let's listen to it attentively now. Megha's service to Sri Sai Maharaj is unparalleled. He was a very dedicated and sincere devotee who worshipped Sri Sai Baba with great enthusiasm. To recall, it was Megha that started the procedure of performing the noon arati at Shiradi. Though devotees like Mahalsapati used to worship by smearing sandal paste in the chest and hands of Sri Sai Baba, then the small boy Bapu would worship the way that appeals to his heart. The worship by the devotees was not an organized one. Megha's arrival is considered very significant by the Sansthan, as he who brought a systematic worship in Dwarakamai during Sri Sai Baba's sojourn. This continued with great zeal until 16/1/1912, because that was the day Megha was extremely unwell. Still, he performed his exceptional arati to Sri Sai Maharaj by standing in one leg. It was a very challenging task owing to his poor health. Still, he accomplished his task. Omniscient Sri Sai Maharaj professed thus: Megha, this is the last arati that you are performing for me. Sri Sai was aware that Megha would attain liberation soon. It seems on the 16th, Megha was unable to blow the conch shell, which he usually blows with a great resonance, as it was difficult for him to hold his breath to blow the conch shell. The greatest blessing of performing Arati to Sri Sai by Megha came to a standstill on 16th, as Megha was bedridden on the 17th and 18th in his room at Satewada. On the 19th morning, around 4 a.m., Megha merged with Sri Sai Baba. That is, he left his body. Devotees went and told Sri Sai Maharaj about the passing away of Megha. Sri Sai, an incarnation of the Supreme, hearing this news, behaved like a normal human being and bursted out in tears. Sri Sai Baba said, "Oh, my Megha is gone. He will not be born again." Devotees assembled there were startled to see this strange behavior of Sri Sai Baba. Sri Sai Maharaj has surpassed all these emotions. He is beyond body consciousness. He has no likes and dislikes. He is the Supreme Lord. Then how can he mourn on the death of his devotee would be the question. But this is a revelation of his love on his devotee. This might be surprising for everyone. To quote, similar incident took place during the sojourn of Swami Samarthar too. Swami Samarthar is regarded as an incarnation of Lord Dattatreya and a great Satpurush. When his ardent devotee Cholappa passed away, he too cried out loud like a normal human and said, "Ha, Cholappa, have you gone?" Now Sri Sai Maharaj, out of love, spread his hands on the body of Megha and spread flowers all over it. In a sorrowful tone cried, "Oh, my real devotee has gone." This incident has been recorded by Kapparde in his diary. In fact, we can find a note in the diary narrating the incidents from 16th to 19th January 1912. When Megha's body was carried to the funeral ground, until his body was taken to the end of the road where Dwarakamai is situated, Sri Sai Maharaj's mourning cries were heard, remarks Kapparde. Such was his grief on the death of Megha. Then Sri Sai Maharaj on his own took out some money from the dakshina collected, gave it to Gaga Sahib Dikshit and said, "Offer food to the Brahmins on my behalf for Megha to attain Sadgati." Thus, Sri Sai Maharaj granted liberation to the most blessed and ardent devotee Megha. Sri Sai Maharaj decreed to Megha that 16th Jan will be his last arati to him. True to his words, Megha was even unable to move on the 17th and 18th. So from 17th January 1912, Babu Sahib Jog was given the greatest blessing to perform the arati to Sri Sai Maharaj. Devotees, I would like to recall the assertions given by Sri Sai Maharaj to Megha after his appearance in the vision to Megha, instructing him to draw the trident, which says, "I possess no form or have any dimensions." These declarations carry a subtle meaning. What is that? And many more inexplicable leelas are narrated by Hemant Panji in the next chapter of Sri Sai SATCHARITRA. We shall listen to those in the coming episode. Bow to Sri Sai, peace be to all. Om Sai Ram.